Hi, I'm Nell Duke from Stand for Children and the University of Michigan. I am delighted to be able to talk with you about the 2023 updates to the essential instructional practices in early literacy, kindergarten through third grade. We made a number of updates to Essential Instructional Practice 3. One thing we did is to add the parenthetical, i.e. differentiated by. We did that because what we're describing here is differentiation, and because that term is familiar to the field and people had asked questions or made requests about it, we went ahead and added it. We also clarified here, and you'll hear in a number of bullets, we did this for Essential 3, that this essential instructional practice is actually intended to apply not only to reading, but also to writing. So we worked to add the phrasing including both writing and reading to underscore that fact. We also clarified that when we've described, as in 2016, grouping as being primarily based on children's observed and assessed needs and strengths, that type of instruction entails not just ability grouping or general ability grouping or level grouping. In other words, when you're primarily grouping by kids' observed and assessed needs, that means you're not primarily grouping by level or perceived ability. So we clarified that as well. This is a point that is explained in Coaches Institutes and in modules, but wasn't as directly stated in the essentials itself. And finally, we added a reference to a meta-analysis that deals with small group instruction in literacy. In the next bullet, we added some words for clarification. We added the words identifying words based on to make sure it was clear that we're talking about strategies or practices for word identification in this bullet. We also reordered the strategies that were listed in 2016 so that the order now reflects the order in which they'd most commonly occur, which is to first identify words based on letters and groups of letters and words, then be monitoring to make sure that the word identified makes sense and is the correct word. And then if not, or if there's some other source of comprehension breaking down, to reread. So by reordering those prompts, we hope it clarifies the sort of order in which they would typically occur. We also just removed the A, B, and C for readability purposes. In the next bullet, we added the phrase dyad reading because that's a phrase that's commonly used in research and one that's been used in the modules and in coaching institutes, so we thought it would be worthwhile to make sure that phrase is here in the document. We also added continuous or wide reading because there is research support for continuous or wide reading as another way of building reading fluency. And finally, we did add an important point to this bullet about the fact that many of these practices, although they're in Essential 3, which is a small group instruction essential, can also be used in whole group. So some of these have also been tested in whole group, and that's not maybe necessarily clear because of where we placed this particular set of practices. And finally, on the last bullet, we made some updates as well. We added the examples of oral language and vocabulary by request. They're also in Essential 7, of course, but have them now here as well. And we also added writing goal setting, which is a research-supported practice in writing. And we wanted to add that here as a way of just, again, underscoring that Essential Instructional Practice 3 is supposed to be applying to writing as well as to reading. We added a section to the bottom of Essential Instructional Practice 3 in which we talk about research-supported practices for what children can be doing while they're not with the teacher in small group. And that request came from a number of people over the years wondering about when children are in small group, when children are not in small group with the teacher, what kinds of things can they be doing? So we wanted to give some guidance there based on research on activities kids can do without teachers that nonetheless foster literacy development. I hope this has been a helpful review for all of you. And as always, we want to thank you for all that you're doing to support the literacy development of Michigan's children.